Recording in progress.
Okay. Go ahead and call court to order. Tuesday, October 17th at 2023. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, October 13th, 2023 at 1 p.m.
Okay. And welcome to all of you this morning. We do have some presentations, so we will be moving the agenda around just a little bit this morning. But at this time, let's stand up for a moment of silence in the pledge to the flags.
Please join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. So first thing this morning is that we have public comment, and is anyone here this morning to speak on any matter relating to the court? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move down to D for proclamations and resolutions, and at this time we'll call on Commissioner Miller.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. This proclamation is a little special to me. I just need it approved today. It will be presented at the event this Saturday, October the 20th. This is my high school reunion. I sound loud. It may not look like it, but I'm a bicentennial graduate.
It says
High school.
72 to 86.
Yeah,
I don't
which
think
one?
you want to say which one.
No, I'm the bicentennial graduate.
Okay.
I'm a 1976.
Okay.
Graduate of Richville High School. And so we're going to have a multi-class reunion under the theme Reunite, Reminisce, and Reconnect. And if there are no questions or objections, I would just make a motion to approve the proclamation recognizing the Richville High School classes of 1972 through 1986.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And I will say congratulations to you and the class.
Why, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move down to item E at this time for the consent agenda. The suggested pools are E3A, which is an HR matter for Constable Precinct 1, E3B, HR matter for Constable Precinct 5. Is there any other pools? If not, I'll need a motion to accept the consent agenda with the exception of the two mentioned.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And at this time, Dustin, how would you
Yes,
like
sir.
to arrange the presentations that we have this morning? I'm assuming that's where we'll be going next.
Yes, sir. We can hold those two polls for later in the agenda, so we can move on down to item L5. This is a presentation and/or consideration of Texas A&M Forest Service Community Wildfire Defense Grants, County Wildfire Protection Plan, and related matters. I'd like to call on Kylie Moran, and I believe Ryan Durker is there as well.
They are both here.
So I have a little introduction here.
Yes, sir.
Kylie Moran is here with the Texas A&M Forest Service, bring information on creating a county wildfire protection plan and the CWDG Community Wildfire Defense Grant process. The CWDG is a federal grant that offers up to $250,000 with a 10% match for development of a community wildfire protection plan, and up to $10 million with a 10% match for implementation of the CWPP. I've also invited Ryan Durker, newly appointed Emergency Service Manager for McLennan County and Waco, and we had asked some volunteers from the fire departments to come. So I'm just going to open this up for discussion of the benefits of the county if we proceed with this plan.
Good morning, gentlemen,
Ryan,
and
Kylie.
congratulations, right?
Yeah, congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good morning. As Commissioner Jones said, my name's Kylie Moran from Texas A&M Forest Service. I believe that a community wildfire protection plan would greatly benefit McLennan County, and there are many benefits of it. One being preparedness for the county. Two, also, it opens up some grant opportunities for the county. So if we could go ahead and advance that slide. So if you'll turn your attention to the screens, just a brief summary of what a CWPP is. It's a strategic action-based plan for wildfire mitigation. It really just lays the groundwork for, in case there is a wildfire, a large wildfire, and there's that large disaster declaration in the county. It kind of lays the groundwork for how you proceed with that. CWPPs are a collaborative effort, which means that it's not just one individual writing the plan. It is usually a board of people that get together, and that can be from the county, it can be from local departments, and it can be from the public also. They get together, decide what areas are important to focus on, and then we will put the plan together and get the plan together, get it submitted, and hopefully get some grant money to fund some projects. Next slide, please. So why do we need a community wildfire protection plan? Go ahead and click about 3 times. I think there's a few bullet points there, please. There we go. Texas leads the nation in population growth. That's no surprise to us. Lots of people moving in and lots of wildland-urban interface sprawl, urban sprawl. So we're seeing a lot more of those communities that are popping up in the more rural areas, and it's a large concentration of homes and it's surrounded by vegetation, flammable vegetation, trees, grasslands, things like that. Next slide. So here's just a few illustrations of the actual wildland-urban interface in the county. The darker purple areas are higher concentrations of urban interface areas. So once again, that is where humans meet the wildland. So vegetation and homes meet. You can see that blank spot in the middle of Waco, that's city. So there's no wildland-urban interface there. It's once you get to the outskirts of Waco and then those little rural communities out there. So dark purple is high concentration, and then light purple, then blue. So next slide zooms in on the southern part of the county. So you can see around McGregor, Hewitt, Robinson, Bruceville, those higher concentrations. And the next slide is the northern part of the county, west Elmont, over to China Spring. These next couple of slides are overlaying another map into that. I just picked a spot over around China Spring. This is our higher concentration of fire intensity. So the darker orange is class 4, which is high, and that is this is a fire intensity scale. Large flames up to 30 feet in length, short range spotting common. During wildfires, that's embers being thrown and catching other things on fire. Direct attack by trained firefighters and dozers is generally ineffective. Indirect attack may be effective. Significant potential for harm or damage to life and property. So you can see those dark orange areas are those higher risk areas, and then as the color scale goes down into the lower risk. And I overlaid this wildland-urban interface map over the fire intensity scale. So the next one is the wildland-urban interface, and then the next one is an overlay. And then click a couple times, and I highlighted some spots there. Those are just a few spots in the county where that wildland-urban interface is overlaying with that high-intensity fire danger. So those are some areas to potentially focus on. There's many areas around the county like this. These are just a couple of very high population areas that also are very susceptible to fire. Next slide. So some benefits to the CWPP. It outlines some parameters to increase firefighter and public safety. It increases community resilience and also outlines some post-disaster recovery plans, improves our firefighter response capabilities. It decreases funds necessary to protect communities because we are trying to draw in some funds through some federal grants by writing this CWPP. And it empowers communities to share responsibilities. So we're drawing from all communities around the county to ask them for their participation in this. Next slide. So a little bit of a timeline, that handout I gave you. I know it's very small. I couldn't get it to go any bigger. It may be useless, but this is basically what it shows. So right now we're in the convene stage, just talking about it, trying to engage, getting to engaging the interested parties. So next step is we will hopefully write a proclamation to begin writing the CWPP. Next. So during our we can start identifying the working group now and then write the proclamation, then identify the working group, either one. But ideally, we would have local government officials like yourselves, Ryan with Office of Emergency Management, and we can include some fire chiefs of the possibly larger departments or even some smaller ones if they do want to take participation in it. Myself as a Texas A&M Forest Service representative, and also anyone else in the county that holds a large stake. Whoever that may be, it can be a public entity, it can be a private, whoever can offer some help to this would be great. All right. Mentioned CWDG earlier, Community Wildfire Defense Grant. This is the main avenue for funding right now that we can get through CWPP. So it offers up to $250,000 for the development and planning of the CWPP. So that's the actual writing of the plan. You can ask for $250,000 to ask someone else to write the plan for you. The funding period for that closes at the end of October, but it opens back up later in the year. I don't think that McLennan County would be an ideal candidate to ask for money for someone else to write it because we have so many interested parties here and we know that it's a big problem. I think we can round up enough people to get that planning and development part down. Hopefully by the time we've got the CWPP together, we can ask for up to $10 million for mitigation projects included in the CWPP. So this can be public outreach, it can be bolstering up fire departments with equipment and things they need for fires. Excuse me, and it can also be fuel reduction projects on public and private lands. So that's a great thing with this CWDG. We can put this money towards working on private lands. It just has to be outlined in the CWPP. There is a cost share match. So the 10% cost share for the planning, that's the $250,000, 10% of that. And then up to 10 million, that's a 25% match for projects, which it gives a great head start on getting some projects done. Next slide. Just a couple websites here. TexasWildfireRisk.com is where I grabbed the maps from earlier. That's called our TexRap viewer. Lots of good information there. You can view lots of maps and see lots of different fire-related maps on that website. And I think that is it. Next slide. Yep. There's my information. If y'all have any questions, please reach out to me. I would be happy to answer any questions now.
Kylie, how many counties are active right now, or actually applying for the grant or already have received it?
In Texas,
Yes, sir.
no counties have currently received it. This is a relatively new grant. It opened last year. We had, I think, 5 counties apply for it, and none were selected. But since then, we have learned what the federal government is looking for in those applications. Before it was kind of a here, go apply for this, and we didn't really understand what they wanted. Now we kind of understand what they want. They're looking for a lower income, sometimes lower income status. And certainly some of our parts of our county do qualify for that. And they're also looking for that high risk, those high risk areas, which our county also has.
So are we saying there's 5 counties now that already have a plan in place, or just 5 that applied for a grant?
That was 5 that applied for a grant this past funding session. Coryell County is applying this year, one of our neighborhood counties that I cover. So hopefully we'll see that come through.
Well, I assume there's some counties that simply because they are so urbanized, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for them, but I could see a lot of the 254 counties that would certainly qualify under that circumstance. And once the plan is written, the Forest Service will continue to be a partner with us as far as, I guess, advising and helping with it, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, and there's a full staff in College Station that is a department developed just for this grant as well as CWPP program.
Okay.
Is there a benefit in the application process if contiguous counties apply?
Not that I know of.
That you know of? Okay.
So really, our next step would be to approve becoming a CWPP, and then what happens next?
Yes. So next step is to write a proclamation.
Write a proclamation that the court would approve at a later court date?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Commissioner, do you have anything to follow up, sir?
I just, this little handout, this little cheat sheet, it's good. It's has the steps, and so like,
Yeah.
Kylie said, we need, at some point, we need a proclamation to come before the, Commissioners Court, that we do want to start this, process of, the, community becoming a community starting a community wildfire protection plan. Anything we can do to mitigate fire. And I think it's important that what Kylie said about so much of our, we're kind of a unique size, and the fact that we have a lot of rural area, and then urban is going out into that rural area, and that just looks like that looks like a fire waiting to happen.
Risk is going up quickly.
And
The more people come in, the more risk you're gonna have.
Definitely. Over the last few years, we've seen a large uptick in fires just because of our drought conditions. No different than 10, 12 years ago. In 2011, we saw a large uptick. And we had a few wet years, and now we're back to very dry. And we've definitely seen more fires in those urban interface areas that are affecting more people.
Yes, ma'am.
I see where, I like this little sheet. It is tiny, but I like this little sheet. And so right now, we're going to gauge the support. Is that going to include going out to those smaller rural areas, for instance, like Mart, like McGregor, like Robinson? And I noticed on here that it has a co-working group. And so you're going to kind of look holistically out across the county and get people for this committee. Had you thought about it, or?
Ideally, we would have people representing some of those areas. They don't necessarily have to be on the core working group. There's the core working group, and then there is the outlier working group, kind of, that we ask for recommendations from. So that would be like all of our volunteer fire departments. Whereas in our core working group, we might have a few chiefs from the volunteer fire departments, but on that outer layer, we would have all of them, and we're asking for their input. We would have all of the city mayors of those
Okay.
of those other smaller towns outside, or someone from their system.
And I see it takes a while, so I guess that proclamation is just supporting the initiative. That's the
Yes.
basis of it. And so, because what I'd really like to see is that map, but it looks like that comes several steps down, that community-based map that defines the risk communities, I guess.
Yes, so that is the community risk assessments is that longer bar in the middle, conducting the risk assessments. That is a time-consuming process, especially for a whole county, especially for our county. Coryell County, it didn't take real long because it's Gatesville and then a few dots outside of that. But McLennan County, it's going to take a while to conduct those risk assessments. And we, as the Forest Service, provide training to individuals, and that's where we would rely on some of our fire departments outside of Waco, as well as anybody else that would like to sit in on that training and learn how to do these risk assessments. It's very easy. We have an application for it, like an online application. You go in and you fill out some steps. You go drive through the neighborhood, look at different factors such as home construction types, utility types. Is it above ground? Is it below ground? You look at the vegetation surrounding the structures, things like that, that are going to increase or decrease the risk of those homes. And then we will have a map, after we complete that, have a map of those risk assessments.
I think it's a worthy endeavor. I know at one point this summer, I had like 3 fires on one day out in my precinct. So I think it's a worthy endeavor.
Thank you for your support.
Ryan, what benefits do you see in this?
Our county has largely been, thankfully, spared kind of the wildfire activity that our surrounding counties has. Hill had a bad year this year. Coryell had a very bad year this year, as did Bosque. We can't keep that up forever. It was really just kind of a luck of the draw. I think it speaks well to our county firefighting apparatus. They do a really good job and kept some of these medium-sized fires from becoming big ones, but it very easily could have gone the other way. Our Forest Service partners as well did a really fantastic job stationing a strike team in McGregor that paid enormous benefits this year. So if we keep getting dry years like this, it really behooves us, I think, to take whatever steps we can to make sure that those fires stay minimal. And if there is something we can do to lessen the impacts of that, you see it every year. A community is completely destroyed by a wildfire, and I'd hate to see that happen to anybody in our community. So if there is steps we could take, our office would be supportive of that.
Very good. Questions or comments?
I'm just waiting for that motion.
Commissioner, you brought this to the table, I'm assuming.
So I don't know that we have an action.
It's an action item.
Yeah.
We could move ahead on.
So I guess we could, I'll make a motion that we accept the presentation for recording and move forward with a plan to move forward with this plan to start the community wildfire protection plan.
Okay, to include a proclamation.
To include a proclamation and gathering of the interested parties.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you both, gentlemen, and thank you, Commissioner. Wonderful idea and a great plan for the county.
Thank you.
Hey, Dustin, we got, Chris will be in at 10, correct, sir?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
All right.
And Commissioner, if it's, I know Commissioner Jones mentioned it, but M2 was Waco McLennan County Office of Emergency Management announcement of director appointment. While we've got Ryan there, did just want to officially say that interim tag has been removed and Ryan Dirk
Ryan,
is
come
our
back
new
up.
emergency management coordinator.
Thank you, Dustin. Commissioners, I won't take too terribly much of your time. I just wanted to express how grateful I am. This is a life-changing opportunity for myself and my family, and we found a good home here in the county, and I'm excited to be here, and I hope to be here for a really long time. So I just wanted to thank you guys for your support and for believing in me, and hopefully we can do good things for you. So thank y'all.
We feel like we found a good one as well. Yeah. So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, no actions necessary, so we can move down to item N3, discussion and/or action regarding McLennan Central Appraisal District's Board of Directors' request to renovate and construct an addition to the appraisal office, finance the renovation and construction costs of the addition, and related McLennan County resolution. I'd like to call on Joe Donbach.
Okay, and Joe has, Jim is with Joe today, so it's not hard to forget their names, Jim and Joe. But we appreciate that, and gentlemen, if you would, proceed with your presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having us. Our current building is a great facility, especially compared to the one we came from in 2008. It is ADA compliant and meets our needs 9 months of the year perfectly fine. But what we are asking for, we're not asking for any additional money. We just need technical permission to use the money that we do have to expand our facility so we can increase our waiting area and our lobby. That way, when people come in to see us and to protest, it's already a stressful environment. We'd like to reduce that as much as possible and not cram them into a little tight room. And so this would allow us to add 2 additional protest rooms to get us up to 5 or 7 ARB panels at one time, and allow us to have a customer service counter that would have all 6 of our staff up front, where we can basically work with people a little sooner so they don't have to wait as long. Since 2009, our protests have increased 2.5 times. We're up to 19,000. When we moved into this building, we're at around 7,500 a year. And then the total number of hearings has tripled. So we went from 2,000 hearings that the ARB actually conducts to 6,000 hearings. And so we have 45 days still to get all this done. And so we need a little more room to get it done in a timely fashion so we can certify the roll and get it to y'all in time. So we're basically just asking for your approval to pass the resolution to authorizing us to expand our building.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and in all fairness, I do sit on the board at the appraisal district. I would like to add that this is not just increasing efficiencies for staff, it's increasing efficiencies for the public, for the end user. And that's important because we've all heard stories about how long they had to wait, there was no place to wait. So these things accumulatively have brought us to this point where we are prepared to move forward if the entities, and explain the process on the entities and how many must.
There are 42 total entities that get to vote, and out of that, we need 32 to approve this. And no response is voted as a no. And so once we send y'all the resolution and our request officially, then we have 30 days from that point. So even if it was tabled and brought back the next month, the timeline is expired at that point, and then we're just counted as no. And so once 11 or once 12 entities vote no, then that doesn't pass.
Questions from anyone?
No. I see the need. I don't have a problem with it, so.
We're gonna,
Approximate the cost at $2 million.
yes, sir. That's the
Or how many
current,
square feet?
about 2,500.
And the remodel.
And a remodel,
And
and
a
a lot
remodel.
of remodel.
Which will mainly just be on that one end of the building where the ARB meets. We need to add 2 more rooms that are basically 12 by 12.
And also completing the parking lot.
Yeah.
Where actually you can drive around the building, whereas right now you can't.
People,
So that's this area in red that you would expand the parking lot?
yes, sir. You'd be surprised how many people drive off in there with trailers and then can't get out.
How large is that lot?
We have 2.5 acres, I believe. So we'd be adding at least 60 more parking spots.
Excellent.
And we actually own a little bit of the parking lot behind us, and the lot behind us is part of our lot. And so we'd be able to open the gate up and actually have a rear entrance to the building.
That'll be very nice there.
Yes. Because that red light, you can't turn left. It's not a protected left on that red light, so it's kind of difficult to get to sometimes.
Who came up with these estimates, these cost estimates?
The architect came up with the $2 million. He's estimating about $400 a square foot, which seems kind of high. We're going to use a construction manager at risk to see if we can't reduce some of that. And it's a metal building, basically like a barn dominium, and so I don't expect it to be, the Taj Mahal or anything extremely elaborate. It just needs to be a blue metal building that kind of matches our existing facility.
And it was a local architect as well.
Okay, yeah,
So
I
someone
saw.
familiar.
And then how would this be, who ultimately pays for this? The entities?
Yes, sir. We have roughly $1.6 million in reserves. We'll use $700,000 of that to pay off our existing building note, and then we'll refinance the construction for the same amount or less than going forward. So The amount that y'all see in your budget will be the same. I think we pay $127,000 per year on our current note, so we'll be at that or less going forward.
And the thought process behind what he's explaining is every year, any excess funds can be returned to the entities. And what we've tried to do, there hasn't been a large amount in the last several years. So what we've tried to do is keep that, knowing this was coming, so we don't have to go back and ask for additional funds from the entities. Any other questions or comments?
What
Go ahead, sir.
counties our size or about, have y'all looked into, do we have an inordinate amount of
Like protest?
protests compared to,
We're running about
our-
average,
our
probably
side.
low. Like, once you get into like Williamson, Travis, they have 60%.
that doesn't,
Yes, sir.
those don't work.
But 20%'s not, we roughly have 15 to 20% of our properties protest. And we're seeing more and more of that go to tax agents that protest more than homeowners.
Roughly what size? I mean, I don't know if you looked into that. What size buildings do they, what square footage do they do,
I haven't looked at,
Bell?
yes, sir, I haven't looked at that. Bell has 3 different offices because they have 3 different major cities.
And I wonder too, if that wouldn't be an idea to put other,
Branch locations?
yeah. Because it's some people have, it's hard sometimes for people to get, and you're not in exactly the most, I mean, it's not off a main thoroughfare.
Yes, sir. We did look at, Dillard's had 100,000 square feet, not that we'd need the entire thing, but it's right off 2 major thoroughfares, easy access, but
Lots
probably
of-
not financially feasible. Most of the other buildings we looked at that are, of the relative size we need are substantially older than our existing building. I think we'd still have to basically entirely remodel them. But we could look at that going forward, having branch locations. We had debated about that for the summer, just for the ARB process. But then usually it's difficult to find a location for 3 months. And we've talked to some of the school districts, but usually that's when they're doing end of the year maintenance and other stuff. And during COVID, Waco ISD was kind enough to let us use their facility for one summer, but it disrupts their maintenance programs.
They're stacked in on top of each other right now too. So the idea is to get a more conducive working environment, but at the same time, make it more palatable for, nobody wants to be there. So while they're there, we would like to have the room for them to feel comfortable and to prepare for their hearings. Any other comments, questions? If not, need a motion to approve a resolution for the appraisal district to move forward.
So moved.
Have a second? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's call for the vote, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Judge Pro Tem Terry,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, gentlemen. Y'all have a nice day.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we can go to item N11, discussion and or action regarding Remembrance Tree at Bill Oak Juvenile Justice Center. I'd like to call on Colin Coker.
Morning, Colin.
Commissioner, how are you?
I'm doing fine, sir. Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you, sir. So we were, and I think we have some family members in attendance in the audience. We were asked by the family to see if the court would be interested or would approve a remembrance tree for a volunteer that we had at our department for that was out there for 30 years. And she did a lot of things, touched a lot of juveniles' lives out there. But I don't know if Mr. Chase, if the court would allow Mr. Chase to come up and talk about the request.
Certainly, I see no issue with that.
Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you all very much. My late wife, Mary, was a volunteer at the Logue Center since about 1982 to 2018. She started out 1 day a week taking cookies, and after a few years, she was going there twice a week teaching yoga and meditation at the jail. It was quite interesting. I think people thought she might have been a little crazy when she started, but she could walk into a room. I know one time in particular, she went in and there was a young man in an isolation cell, and he was screaming and kicking and hitting. It's not an uncommon occurrence out there, unfortunately. She walked up to him to the door. It's a glass door. And she just held her hands together and stood there, and he got quiet. She had a way to make those kids calm down. So she died in 2018, and we'd just like to have some way to remember her work out there. It was very important to her. And we're going to donate everything, no cost to the county.
Well, I can't imagine a better way for someone's legacy to be preserved. And for you, every time you pass by there,
Yeah.
you're gonna think of her. We're gonna think of her, and I think that's a wonderful idea. Any other questions or comments?
No, I think that is a beautiful tribute. You said that from the 80s all the way through to 2018, she worked twice a week out there,
It was around, I think it was over 36 years, but I'm not sure,
doing meditation and yoga.
teaching yoga and meditation. When she started, I can't remember the man's name that was running it, and he was a little hesitant. And then when Bobby took over, Bobby Campos, he came in and watched one of her sessions. And after that, he said, I want you to come as much as you can. And so then Colin took over and kept it going. And so, you know,
Sounds
Someone's
like a
with you.
really-
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Oh.
I was wanting him to introduce.
this is
Okay.
my wife, Angie Chase. And she's been very helpful in helping me get this stuff organized.
Okay.
No, I just find it interesting, such an awesome way to connect with those young people. So, she should be applauded. I think this is a beautiful idea.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd need a motion to accept the request from, on behalf of Mary Lacy.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for what you're doing.
All right, I know we have some representatives from the city of Mart here. If we could go to item H10, authorization of interlocal cooperation agreement with city of Mart for equipment for street work. Commissioner Miller?
Yes, good morning again. We do have the mayor here this morning and the city manager. And this is not a new request, it's more of a renewal, but since all of the names have changed, we want to execute a new agreement. Just simply going to rent a BOMAG, 1994 BOMAG that I have out at the yard for work that they have a need for. $100 per week. I'm wishing them the best, but it does run, it is. But I encourage you to go out there and look at it. And it's been okay for you all to send a worker out there to train on it. But if there are no objections, we're just asking that this interlocal cooperative agreement between the city of Mart and McLennan County be executed for them to rent a 1994 BOMAG.
Well, I hate for them to burn all the gas to come in town and go back and not have the opportunity to speak. So would you gentlemen like to say anything?
Lambert Little, I'm the city administrator in Mart. I can't imagine anybody objecting to an interlocal agreement. I think it's so cool when everybody works together, and this is going to help us so much. I cannot tell you how much. With that said, I want to thank you all. Having been in an elected office, I know it's kind of thankless, so I'm going to offer a sincere thank you for what you're doing here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're excited about this interlocal agreement.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I do want the mayor to say his name. He's newly elected. You want to just stand and introduce yourself to everyone?
I'm the unopposed mayor of Mart. One with 0 votes. I always told everybody at the end of my 2 years, they'll either reelect me or burn my house down and run me out of town. I'm Robert Kaiser. Anybody that needs to speak with me, I'm always available.
Thank
Sounds like you're very familiar with being an elected official.
He's getting good.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Do we have a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. And
Appreciate y'all.
if you want to stay, that's fantastic, but if you get up and leave, you're not hurting anybody's feelings. All right, Dustin, we're waiting on Chris at 10, right, sir?
Yes, sir. She's going to zoom in, so it may be a little before then, Commissioner, but we can go back up to those pulls from the consent agenda if that's okay.
Yes, sir, let's do that.
Item E3, Human Resources. E3A is Constable Precinct 1. Anna?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Anna.
I have your request from Constable Precinct 1 to hire a part-time deputy. It's Joe Gomez, who's also a retiree. And so the constable has confirmed that they meet all of the TQual standards for hiring or appointing a deputy. And then HR has confirmed that they meet all the requirements to rehire a retiree. And so because they meet all of the requirements, HR does recommend the appointment and rehire of a retiree.
Okay,
Effective October 18th is what they're requesting.
okay. What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And item
E3B.
E3B, Constable Precinct 5. Anna?
Yes. So this request here was brought before the court a few agendas ago, and it remains unchanged. It's a request from Constable Precinct 5 for a new additional full-time deputy constable position to assist them in the work volume they're seeing in paper served and bailiff functions. I think since that previous presentation or agenda item, the Constable Cantu has had the opportunity to meet with court members who had remaining questions related to that request. I believe those questions have been answered, but I can also take questions if the court still has them. But again, the request is unchanged, is for an additional full-time deputy position, which would amount to what the average salary is for our constable deputies across all precincts. That's $51,924 plus benefits. And the work volume does warrant the request for the additional staffing. That's something that HR has reviewed and then has presented in the agenda material as well. And you can see that Precinct 5 has total amount of papers served from January to the beginning of August, 835, which leaves them currently with their staffing at almost 350 papers being served per officer for the year, which is substantially higher than most of the other constable precincts. So that's really driving the need for the additional constable deputy. Does the court have any questions related to the request?
I don't have any questions, and I'm still of the mindset I was when we initially brought it to the court. I do know she has an issue with coverage. I do know, thinking back on the last discussion, we were wondering on the timing of it, but I don't think anyone really had an issue on the need for it. I did talk to Anna, and she kind of explained how it got bogged down in his needing to fill the positions that he had. And when he got those filled, we were in the month of August. And so we kind of, I think their calendar and our calendar just didn't sync. But it is an issue of coverage based on the types of papers that he's serving on a consistent basis. I don't know the technical terms, but I do know the layman term for them. I know when they go out for evictions, that it takes two of them. So if they're going out for evictions and they also have truancy court, then they're kind of stretched. Sometimes they can meet the court needs down on Richter, and sometimes they can't because they have to have adequate coverage when they're out in the field. And so I thought it was a valid request initially, and I still stand behind. I know the timing might be off a little bit, but I think it's a valid request. I think the coverage dictates, and it's a valid request.
Anyone else?
I do remember that last year, and I don't remember the time frame, but having to call around to try to find a deputy constable from one of the other precincts who would be willing to come over to the JP court to be there. And I think it was
Precinct 2.
Precinct
John
2, yeah, was able to come and truly appreciated him doing that. I agree with Miller that the timing bothered me initially a little bit until I found out that it was something that had actually been being worked on prior to setting of the budget. They came in and visited. I see the numbers. I think there's a definite need. I think we're talking about a safety issue, security issue here, and I'm certainly, I still support it also. Okay.
Well, and I voted against it last time simply for the fact that we're trying to get departments and people conditioned to not do these things at the last hour. But, and I want to make this very clear, when it's a safety issue such as this is, we have to sometimes overlook our processes. But I just want to stress again that we encourage departments and elected officials, don't wait to the last minute, because these are the things that happen. But I certainly understand and approve of the request. Commissioner, you have anything, sir?
I'm still against this. The time for this is in our budget session, and, it just seems like the budget session ends up getting, overlooked or,
Or stretched
whatever.
out longer than.
Stretched out longer than when it needs to. And so, there was some consternation about a couple of items that came to the budget process at the end, this past time, and these even came after the budget process. So maybe it is a safety issue, but it seems like it can be mitigated maybe with, could it be mitigated some other way than hiring a $52,000 full-time employee, adding a $52,000 employee? So that's just those are just my thoughts. So
What's the pleasure of the court? Go ahead, ma'am.
No, they are valid, they are valid. I know there was some conversation about how to schedule when she has court in session, and also be able to maintain coverage and get those papers served, because those two operate on a time clock. And if it had not been for the fact that we have seen, and I don't think any other JP location has seen, the situation that we had last fiscal year, and bringing to our doorstep the danger of not having staffing when she's having court. I would be inclined to say maybe we can see if they can hold out to budget. But I think history has taught us that it's better to err on the side of caution. And I think safety is a true concern, especially at this location. It may pop up somewhere else, but it has already popped up at that location. I would offer the motion to approve the additional full-time deputy constable position at the recommended salary by HR of $51,924 plus benefits.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? And I will say this real quickly before we take a vote. Anna and Francis, if there's any way, it seems like it's 2 years in a row. I think Judge Bain had one that slipped through the cracks, and then this. Could we look at moving personnel requests to the front side of the budget? And I know we still look at it, but we don't take action till the end of the budget. And I think that's a pretty good period of time to let things fall through the crack maybe. And I'm not saying that anyone did, it just is an appearance. So maybe we get it on the front side, and if someone recognizes that they had a personnel request that was not acted on.
And I'd say at the very least, during the budget process, if it looks like there's going to be something come forward past that deadline that we've set, to keep us aware of it, so that even though maybe we were told about it, it doesn't seem like a surprise coming at the back end. Just knowing that there's something still in the pipeline that is being worked on, and I realize that's a very busy time of the year for everyone, but I think that would help us.
And this wasn't the only request that came in after we voted on the budget. So,
And as requests come in through the summer, we ask for requests in May, but things change over a few months for everyone. And so we constantly push those, if we have them, of course, to y'all to review before we adopt. But like you said, if it's after we adopt, there's not a whole lot we could do, so.
Okay, appreciate that. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Judge Brooklyn Parrott,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
abstain.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You. All right, Dustin?
All right, Chris has joined us, so if we can go to item I, Waco McLennan County Economic Development Corporation. I-1 is regarding the program project agreement with Space Exploration Technologies Corporation. Authorization of payment request number 2, final. Chris?
Good morning. Before you is the second and final request from SpaceX related to their program project agreement number 2. This was related to infrastructure improvements at the site. The total grant award was $2 million related specifically for improvements in infrastructure at the site. Overall, the company had to agree to no less than $10 million in real and personal property improvements. We've received full verification of the information both on the infrastructure improvements and on the real and personal property investments. And our recommendation is to proceed with the final payment of $550,396.38. The county's portion of which is $275,198.19.
Okay. Anyone have questions or comments for Chris? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve the payment request for Space Exploration Technologies Corp.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd say blast off.
I feel better about the motion now. That's, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I-2 is regarding the program project agreement with Aston Johnson Nonwovens Manufacturing Incorporated. Authorization of payment request number 1. Chris?
Right. So what you have before you is the first payment request for Aston Johnson. The total grant award for them was $2 million. They have made a request for the first phase that they're now eligible to receive, which includes the requirements of acquiring the land, beginning construction, installing the equipment, and occupying the building by December 31st of 2023. They have met all of the metrics of the first phase. The next phase would be related to employment. They are close to hitting the first metric related to that, but still have ample time in order to hit that first milestone of employment. They have exceeded their capital investment numbers, both on the real and the personal property. And our staff recommendation is to proceed with the first payment of $1 million, the county's portion of which is $500,000.
Okay. Questions or comments for Chris? What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Chris, don't think I didn't notice, Judge isn't here today and you didn't come either, so I have a complex now. I'm not sure.
Not at all, not at all. Just, it's a little crazy day. I appreciate
All
y'all.
right. Hey, we appreciate what you do. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Dustin?
All right, if we can move back up to item F, budget amendments. F1's regarding the FY '23 budget. Francis?
Sorry. Okay, so starting with F1 items, these are all 2023 budget amendments. So of course, year ended September 30th, but invoices continue to roll in for 60 days. And so these are invoices that are requiring budget amendments. So F1A will start with general fund. This is Road and Bridge Precinct 1, requesting to move within that department into road construction materials from contingencies. F1B, this is general fund county court at law number 2, requesting to move within that department for professional services, and this is specifically related to language translation. F1C, this is a certification of revenue and related budget amendment for the LATCF grant, the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund grant. So if you remember, this was a $100,000 grant. We were going to get it in 2 tranches. We got the first earlier last fiscal year, so this is the second piece. And it's to be used for just any general county purpose. And so we're certifying that amount, and then attached is a budget amendment. Now, the first piece we got, we just increased the budget or used it to account for the budget for utilities. It was just something that's a countywide expense. And so that, of course, just frees up funds that we had previously budgeted in the general fund for that purpose. So I went ahead and I'm requesting to increase that same line. And I think that's working well, if you agree with that. Then F1D. This is general fund, the countywide road and bridge department. This is a request to increase that line item for the roadside cleanup services that we're utilizing now weekly. And so we had our best estimate there at the beginning of the year, but just the way the weeks fall, we need this additional amount to close out the fiscal year. F1E, this is general fund for the countywide department. We're needing to increase the telephone and internet line item. So, adjustments are made through those services throughout the year, and we kind of wait and see how the year falls. And so we're going to need to move an additional $10,000 there. And then the autopsies line is the other one. And that's a line, and we were talking earlier about this, that we can continue to see increases there and study, the fluctuations, that if there's anything we can do to minimize those costs. But that is the amount that we need to move in there to clean up the fiscal year. F1F, this is general fund for the district attorney, requesting to move within that department into professional development and professional services. F1G, this is in Fund 170, which is the Law Library Fund, a special revenue fund, and just requesting to move into the general line for legal reference materials for the law library. So this specifically would be for the electronic databases that we have subscriptions to. F1H. This is Fund 401, our Permanent Improvement Fund. This is to accommodate an invoice from CPNY or STV for ADA renovations. It was approved on the last agenda. F1I1, this is for the Highway 6 Jail General Fund, requesting to move within that department into outsourced prisoner transport. And then F1I2, this is also general fund, but for the Jack Harwell Detention Center. And there is a request to increase other services and charges and utilities from within another line in that department. F1J, this is general fund maintenance of buildings, requesting to move within that department into professional development and fuel cost for the year. And F1K, this is general fund road and bridge 3, requesting to increase multiple lines, road construction, other services, repair and maintenance, and travel reimbursement by moving from other lines within that department. There's a request to move from one line in the countywide road and bridge as well. And then F1L. This is general fund treasurer department, just requesting to move within that department into the travel reimbursement line. And that concludes the 2023 budget amendments.
Any questions about the budget amendments?
On F1D, the roadside cleanup services increase, where do we initially budget that contract?
It is in that line item. So it just went over a little bit. Again, I think there was a couple weeks, there might have been some additional work done, and then just the way the weeks fall, so.
There's a standalone
Yes,
item
ma'am.
in the general fund for roadside service?
Yes, we have
That vendor?
a completely specific line only for that purpose in the countywide road and bridge department.
Okay,
And again, most of these are just housekeeping now, right?
Yes,
For the
ma'am.
budget
Yes, sir.
year, so.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
okay.
There are no other questions or comments. Can I get a motion to approve F1A through F1L?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, then F2 is regarding the FY24 budget.
And so FY24, so we do need to defer 2 items, if we're gonna do those first. That's F2B2 and F2C2.
Okay, can I get a motion to defer F2B2 and F2C2?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So then moving forward with those, so F2A1, this is in Fund 401, Permanent Improvement Fund. This is a request to increase the door modifications project at the Highway 6 jail. So this is a project that spanned multiple years. There was a phase of it that it was anticipated to complete in the prior year that did not occur. And so we are just needing to increase the budget line for FY24. And so this all occurs by moving from contingencies into Fund 401. So just moving funds from one year to the next. And then F2A2, also in Fund 401, this is for the shop canopy, the pitched canopy at Road and Bridge 3. This was approved in the budget, but just since that time, the cost has increased very slightly. And so we're just increasing that line again from contingencies in that fund. F2B1. This is Fund 421, the 2021 bond proceeds. This is an increase needed for the Road and Bridge 3 Communications Tower project. And it is based on an estimate for work to be done by Canyon Telecom. F2C1. This is in general fund. This is our capital outlay department. In the budget, you had approved the purchase of a spider lift to be used by maintenance of buildings. And again, just since that time, the cost is a little different. So you'll see there that $10,450 difference. And so we're asking for you to approve that increased purchase price and then this budget amendment that would accommodate the purchase order. F2D. This is General Fund Commissioners Court. There was just an increase since the time of the budget for the Civic Plus software. So just requesting to move from contingencies to increase that software line. F2E, this is General Fund for Constable Precinct 4. You approved a position for Constable Precinct 4 after the budget was adopted. So this is the travel reimbursement line request that's needed to accommodate the travel reimbursement for that new staff member. F2F. This is Fund 10, which is our Records Management Fund. This is a request to purchase a new scanner for our Archives Department. There's a quote there that was submitted by John Carter. And so he is asking for you to approve that purchase. It does exceed $5,000, so it is a depreciable item that we need your approval on. But of course, also, we need this budget amendment to accommodate that purchase if you approve. And then F2G, this is General Fund for Heart of Texas Fairgrounds. So we have a separate repair and maintenance line for those facilities. We had budgeted $75,000 for ongoing costs through the year. And so this was an additional request for air handler repairs and inspections, as well as the replacement of a cooling tower fan and assembly. And so those are things that weren't included in that original budget. And so the request is to increase that line by the cost for those projects coming from contingencies in the general fund.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions?
What about H?
Oh, H is just approval and invoice. I think we can do that
Separate,
as-
since it,
We do it separate?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
If that's okay.
On F2E, Constable Precinct 4, the documentation in the packet shows where we approved the hire. Did you ever see the travel request at that 8,400?
I don't think we did. I think it's a,
I'm trying to
I
find
think
out.
it might be an afterthought. I don't recall that being included in the request of the position.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct. So, and the one that for Constable Precinct 5 today will be the same. They don't have vehicles. Of course, they're using their personal vehicles. And so the travel reimbursement is just a necessary part of any of those positions.
No, I understand that. My question is the $8,400 travel. Do we have any details on where they went, what travel that was? Because this is just a
So that'll be
second
for the-
travel-related expense.
That'll be for the upcoming year.
Right.
So it's an
FTE?
estimate. I'm sorry.
FTE?
Right.
Yes.
They'll pull from it.
It's their monthly,
It's
it's
what they receive.
month,
for
at the end of every
mileage
month when
reimbursement.
they report their
Oh,
mileage.
this is not a professional development, this is mileage?
This is mileage, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
So constables that drive their own vehicles, they turn in monthly reports with very specific detail of their mileage, their odometer readings and all of those, that information we need. And then we reimburse them monthly. So this is their
Okay.
estimate.
So he's just increasing his annual budget to the 8,400?
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I need a motion to approve F2A1 through F2G with the exception of F2B2 and F2C2.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Francis.
Right, item F2H is authorization of Texas Association of Counties claim deductible invoice. This is associated with Christopher Blackwell, and it's a district attorney matter. This invoice totals $4,149.44.
Anyone have questions for Dustin? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, moving on to item G, bids, RFPs, RFQs. G1 is authorization of recommendations. G1A is regarding bid 23-013, Chapel Road improvements. I believe this needs to be deferred today. Is that correct, Ken?
Yes, sir. We're still waiting on the approval from the city council on the alternate that they want to use on that bid.
Okay.
When we have that, we'll be able to complete the contract and bring back to the court.
I'll make a motion to defer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
G1B is regarding RFP 23-016, Microsoft Office 365 migration. Ken?
Yes, sir. We received 8 responses to this RFP. We received a response from CDW Government, Communications Square LLC, Crayon Software, Data Agility Group, Inc., Extraco Technology, Golden 5 LLC, Liftoff, and then Sentinel Technologies. We had a team of evaluators on this. It was Dustin Chapman, John Carter, David Nyhard, Tim Reed, and myself. And going through the evaluations, pretty much, well, we all selected Liftoff as the best evaluated proposal, but I'll just, Liftoff submitted the best evaluated proposal in accordance with the specifications. Liftoff had the best response to each of the evaluation factors. They listed a large number of local governments in Texas that have worked with them and had the lowest evaluated cost. And I must apologize to the CART. I have a typo on my recommendation, which I'll correct before I send back to Reagan. But the evaluated cost is $894,985.20. And I have the supporting documents to go with that correction. But with that being said, it is recommended that McLennan County grant the award for Microsoft Office 365 migration to Liftoff with an average score of 91.
Okay. Anyone have questions for Ken?
Significantly higher and total score significantly higher, so it must be a
Yes, sir.
extremely reputable company.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve Liftoff Technologies for our Microsoft Office 365 migration.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm assuming that they have local representatives, or are they going to be?
Actually, no one has to be here, if my understanding,
course.
for this migration.
Yeah.
It's all done remotely.
Sure.
All right. Item G.
Item-
Go ahead, Dustin, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Commissioner. G2 is authorization of renewal for bid 20-002, unleaded and diesel fuel for McLennan County, Fikes Wholesale. Ken?
Yes, sir. We received a letter from Fikes Wholesale that they would like to renew their contract with the same terms and conditions as previous, with a requested increase of 0.0269 cents to the rates. And that's to the tabulation. And if approved by the court, it would be renewed from December 1, 2023 through November 30th, 2024.
What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Ken, are we talking about, when we say rates, we talking about cost per gallon? Or, I mean, what does rate mean?
It is cost per gallon.
Cost per gallon. So there's a 0.0069 cent increase from last year's increase, which is minimal. Very
Yes,
minimal.
right. That's
Okay.
right.
But 269.
Well, no,
Dustin?
it's 269.
Yeah, the 269 is a 0.0069.
In that
increase
amount,
from
just for the, in that amount, just for that's their handling fee.
Basically, it's a constant,
Yeah.
fee.
Yeah, it's always going to be, yeah.
Because fuel
And the
can
fuel goes up and down.
cost, changes from hour to hour.
You're right.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G3.
Dustin,
Authorization.
before you go on, was there a vote actually taken on the migration?
I believe there was.
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
Was there? Yes, yes.
Okay,
You
good.
had-
I
you had
just
to-
didn't hear it.
Well, you had to be here. It was one of those things.
G3 is authorization of quote from CDWG for scanner for archives. John?
Hello, good morning.
Morning,
Morning,
John.
Good morning.
This is related to a budget amendment you just did. We have a scanner that's failing over there. We've already tried to repair it once by replacing the rollers. And we have a couple of folks over there that all they do all day long is digitize documents, scanning them in so we can get them into the computer system. This is just a needed item. It's wasting a lot of people's time and energy. And the quote came out at $5,597.71. This has been reviewed and requested for replacement.
Okay. Questions or comments for John? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to, oh, go ahead.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under item H, contracts and interlocal agreements, H1 is authorization of financial renewal and terms amendment with United Healthcare Services Incorporated for McLennan County Group Health Plan. Does this need to be deferred again?
It does need to be deferred again. We are still working on that. Thank you.
Motion to defer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to defer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H2 is authorization of construction agreement with Knife River Corporation South, construction of Panther Branch Road Bridge at Rock Springs Creek. Ken?
Yes, sir. This contract is in reference to our bid 23-018. It's in the amount of $886,817.65. It should be completed in 150 calendar days.
Questions or comments for Ken? If not, I make a motion to approve H2.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H3 is regarding the professional services contract with TLC Engineering, authorization of contract termination for grant administration services. Following our discussion in court last session, Mike and I had a good conversation with Georgina on Wednesday, October 4th. In it, she had promised some information by the end of that week. We did not receive it. I followed back up last Wednesday, I believe, and it's still not heard anything. I mean, I think they may just be stretched too thin. Mike, you want to add anything, but I think our recommendation would be that we go ahead and terminate this contract.
Yeah, we straightened her out on what we wanted, so we didn't get any electric car things or whatever. We went, over, hey, we're roads, bridges, drainage. And she seemed like she understood, and we said, we need responsiveness. And she said she was going to get stuff back to us by the end of the week. And as Dustin said, didn't. And then he followed up trying to get information, find out when she's going to send the information, and never got a call back. So we're kind of at the end of the road.
Mike, I have a question. Do you think that that's what they're pushing, is maybe more of the electric type, the charging stations and things of that nature? You think that's what they're really pushing in this?
I don't think so. I think, as Dustin said, they're stretched thin, and I think this particular person may be especially stretched thin. Well, she told us she had been, and had some other stuff going on. So, but we, if we want to get in line for some of this stuff, we've got to have somebody out there actually fighting for us.
Right.
And it's not happening.
We actually have to have a grant written in order.
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten to that point yet.
Right.
Well, so there's funding opportunities that they're going to make available. I mean, there's these programs that are they still building programs? Are there going to be more? Are there going to be more programs? And who are we going to get to help us to watch for what? My question is, what are we going to do going forward? I'm fine. I agree that this TLC, they were not TLC. They were.
Well, we'll just have to look for another grant coordinator / administrator. I'm sure all the big ones are working on infrastructure programs. So we're just gonna have to look for somebody else.
Dustin, did I send you a name here a month or so ago?
I think you did, Commissioner. I'll go back and look.
Somebody out of Austin area, I believe, so. But hey,
Yes,
we've
sir.
been with these people for 15 months
Yeah, I got nothing.
and have nothing, so I don't have a problem with your recommendation.
It'd be good to know what is the program even, are they building program? I mean, or is it all gone, has it all gone to the states and larger urban areas and things like that?
Yeah, Commissioner, I think some of it has gone directly to the state, and then there should be some programs that we can apply for. So we just need to get back through and sort it out. Georgina had sent some information that we included in the packet last time, and it may be back in there this time, some of the available opportunities. But there are, a lot of it are larger planning type grants that, we just may not be a good fit for. So.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in knowing how long that funding is out there for us. If I'm thinking back correctly, I know the city of Waco secured funding through this bipartisan infrastructure grant, and so did MPO. I'm trying to think back. I just think we didn't swing at the apple and get a hit. But if there's still funding under this grant, I'm inclined to do like Commissioner Smith is saying, we just need another consultant, because entities are receiving funding from this program.
Well, maybe we need to find out who Waco used.
That's a good first step.
Yeah, that's
I
a
mean,
possibility. They may have somebody inside that does their
Does
grant.
Walker Partners, do they do this?
I don't know if Walker Partners does, but GrantWorks is out there.
Yeah,
I know, Francis had just messaged about like Langford. They do work on these. The issue was, we did the RFP on this before, is how we selected TLC. We just had such a limited number. I believe only 3 had actually responded, and most of those were more definite engineering type firms. TLC was the one that kind of had a grant team, it seemed like. And Georgina seems very knowledgeable, but it is just, as Mike said, just stretched too thin. But I think we can reach out to these others that are more specialized just directly in grants and see if we can find somebody.
Definitely, and sooner than later on that,
Yeah.
I know. All right, so what it appears to me is that Dustin and then our legal counsel are recommending that we terminate the contract. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H4 is authorization of care coordination facility use agreement with the Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network for Veteran Service Office. We approved this agreement previously, and BHN sent a revised agreement over, just including some additional language that's required by the state. And so it is recommended for approval.
Okay, any questions or comments? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H5 is authorization of agreements for legal services to indigent parents pursuant to Texas Family Code Section 107.013. And those agreements are HA, B, C, D, and E. This is those agreements that help for the provision of legal services to indigent parents for CPS cases. This was put in place back in 2013 by Judge Coley to help stabilize the cost. These firms each receive $8,750 a month or $105,000 annually. For the term of the agreement, they handle a maximum of 50 cases at a time. I did check with Judge Bennett yesterday to see how it's working. He had visited with Judge Minkowski. It is working well. 3 of the firms have 50 cases right now. 1 has 44. 1 actually has 53, which is kind of an overflow type situation. But things are working well now. Judge Minkowski did point out that we had dropped from 6 to 5 firms at some point, and if cases continue to increase, we may have to add a 6th one back next year. But right now, things are working well, and these are recommended for approval.
Any questions? What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve the agreements for legal services to the indigent parents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H6 is authorization of agreements and related quotation with governmentjobs.com. And this is for applicant tracking and onboarding solution subscription for human resources. Anna?
Thank you, Dustin. I have here a request to move forward with an agreement for service for a new application system with NeoGov. So just some background here. During the budget sessions, I had identified the upcoming sunsetting or discontinuation of our existing application system, which is through Civic HR. And so that is scheduled to be offline and discontinued in September of 2024. And our agreement actually expires in May of 2024. And so we started doing, when I say we, IT has been helping me research possible replacements for our employment application system. And so we started that research in the summer, just exploring what our options are and sitting through demonstrations of possible systems. And so following that research, I have a summary there of what systems we looked at and who we spoke to for current users of the system to get recommendations on that replacement. And so following all that research, we come to NeoGov. NeoGov is a widely used applicant system among local governments. That is their main user and client is local government. So their system is very much made for our purposes. They have a client list of about 118 current clients that are either local government counties or municipalities, and we have a cost there for the first initial year with setup of $28,365.94. Our current cost, annual cost for our Civic HR system is $17,575. So it is an increase, but it does have many more features that don't exist in our current system. And we think it adds value, not just to us, but to the applicant as well. HR often does a lot of our research by combing through other government websites, their employment sites and portals. And you can immediately identify whose application systems are powered by NeoGov. They're way easier to use for the applicant, more appealing to the eye, and more attractive, and then also more useful as well. This system has a few capabilities that we don't currently have now. And so one of those is applicant text messaging. And so we can actually set up templates to communicate with potential applicants. And we can also, they have a compensation tool built into the application system. So because they have such a long list of users, of clients that are local government, that means the system collects or aggregates their salary data and their job descriptions and actually pulls it together so that we can access it in a compensation tool or reporting tool. So both of those features alone, I feel like is worth the increase or the additional cost. It does go up the second year to $43,965.96. We worked with City of Waco, and they were nice enough to conference with us and walk through their experience of implementation and current use. And they're very happy with the system, and actually felt like they saw an increase in the actual applications received. And they can't explain exactly why, but if it's easier to apply, applicants are going to be more willing to complete that entire process and hit submit their application. And so that's what we're hoping we'll see on our end too. But of course, I'm going to be monitoring that response and reporting back to the court on that if approved. I can answer any questions for the court about the system.
Any questions?
Why is the difference between first and I guess subsequent years' cost? first year versus second year and so forth?
So it's an introductory year, and that's kind of how they try to gain business, but outside of that, I don't know any specifics on,
So you're not gaining anything by that additional cost then?
no, the services would remain the same.
And we would terminate our contract with a 90 days notice to Civic HR and then start this one on the same date? So we wouldn't have any overlap, would that be correct?
That is the goal. The goal is that we are never offline with our application system, and so we hope to time the 90-day termination when we're pretty confident that NeoGov will be fully implemented so that we don't have a lapse in applications or accessibility to applications.
And we really are, kind of have our backs against the wall from the standpoint of what we currently use is being discontinued by that company, correct?
Correct, yes. We do need a replacement
Okay.
before that expiration.
Any other questions? If not, need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And thank you, ma'am. And I've had an urgent request for a 5-minute break. So at this time, we'll recess for 5 minutes. Tim,
All right, you ready, Commissioner?
we are. Let's get after it.
All right, we can go to item H7, authorization of agreement terminations. This is for the CUPS program. H7A is regarding City of Robinson, and H7B is City of Lorena. Commissioner Smith?
Yes, it's really just cleaning up some agreements we have since we no longer have MacPups. We're just trying to take those off the records and so forth. So the cities understand what's going on. So it's basically just a cleanup project for us. So my motion would be to approve H7A and H7B.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on H7A and H7B. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
H8 is ratification of equipment sales order with Kirby Smith Machinery for reclaimer for Road and Bridge Precinct 4. Commissioner Perry?
Yes, sir. We just had to get the judge to sign on that for us before a price increase came into play. So we're ratifying the amount today of $399,624.80. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H9, authorization of agreement with KDW Enterprises, Williams and Posey LLC, doing business as the Key Depot for McLennan County Courthouse hardware door replacement. Ken?
Yes, this agreement goes with our RFP 23-017, and it was basically put together by Mike Dixon and Cinnamon Alexander, and should be good to go.
Questions or comments? If not, I need a motion. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is all ADA related,
ADA,
right?
right?
The whole
Yes.
package? Okay. just making
Everything,
sure.
okay. Pleasure of the court.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H11, authorization of organized crime drug enforcement task force agreement with McLennan County Sheriff's Office. David Ives?
How are y'all doing this morning?
Wonderful.
Good, David. Good morning to you.
So this is an agreement with the DEA just to receive some funds for work that we're doing on a case for them currently. This is just going to not guarantee that amount of money, but the hours will get turned into them and they will reimburse the county for those hours as they are expended for that purpose.
Okay, questions or comments? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H12, authorization of end user license agreement and related quote with OpenGov Incorporated for asset and work management and a solution for Road and Bridge precincts. John?
Hello again. So this is OpenGov, otherwise known as Cartograph previously. This is just our motion going forward. As you know, this was approved in the budget. The first year's cost there is $84,893.26. That's broken down to an ongoing cost, a yearly cost, in other words, of $40,493.26, and then an installation cost of $44,400. And then the second year is $42,517.93, and then the third year would be $44,544. With this, we would be able to remove the Tyler work orders module from Tyler Munis, saving us $11,657.21 a year. And this has been reviewed and is recommended for approval.
Questions or comments for John? If not, I need a motion to approve H12.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H13 is authorization of lease, order agreement, and related documents with Rico USA for a juvenile copier. Kent?
Yes, we had a request from Juvenile for another copier in their counseling area. The lease agreement is for 60 months at $129.03 per month. A lot of documents, but it's the actual lease amount plus the terms and conditions of the lease for the lease for this copier.
Questions? What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H14, authorization of preventative maintenance agreements with emergency power services for generator maintenance for various locations. And I don't see Michael Graham on. I don't know if Captain Nixon wanted to cover any of this, but it's essentially just preventive maintenance agreement on Woodway Tower agreement, Precinct 1 yard, Lorena Radio Tower, Precinct 2, the Mart Radio Tower, the Fairgrounds Radio Tower, and then also a trailer mounted generator.
Okay. Any comments?
You pretty much covered it.
That's it.
I like that.
Any questions?
Yep.
If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve the agreements with emergency power services.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H15, authorization of cleanup agreement with Liberty Tire Recycling for Road and Bridge Precinct 3. Commissioner Jones?
So this is our tire trailer for our cleanup day next week. I would make a motion to approve the agreement with Liberty Tire Recycling.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H16, authorization of agreement, terms of service, and related quote with Zeter's Waste Value roll-off dumpster rental for Road and Bridge Precinct 3. Commissioner Jones?
So this, I'm getting some feedback or something, I don't know. Sorry for the distraction. But this is for our roll-off for the same, there it is. Sorry about that. This is our roll-off for our cleanup day. We're using a different company because our normal vendor is, all their roll-offs are being used for the festivities of homecoming and stuff like that. So make a motion to approve the quote from Zetter's Waste Value.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H17, authorization of interlocal cooperation agreement with McGregor Independent School District for road work. Commissioner Perry?
Yes, we had McGregor ISD call and request an interlocal agreement for a chip seal parking lot. The amount is not to exceed $6,766 for the work. I make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H18, authorization of lease amendment with Rico USA for removal of old juvenile detention center copiers. Ken?
Yes, when we sent through the lease for all the new copiers, leases for juvenile, they picked up all the old copiers which were under lease. And so technically, this is just the termination or the ending of the original lease for copiers.
Okay. Questions or comments? What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
H19, authorization of sales order agreement, service agreement, and related addendums and documents with CTWP for Tax Office West Substation copier. Ken?
Yes, sir. This is a copier through CTWP for West Substation it's for a 5-year term, 60 months, at $140.17 per month.
Is it a replacement?
You know, I'm not sure, actually. I'm sorry. I can find that out.
Commissioner, if you'd like to do that, we can move on and Ken can make a.
Well, I don't mind going to approve it. I'm just curious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Certainly, I'm sure they need it, so.
All right.
I don't mind.
How does it work with the lease, normally with these lease agreements? Do we turn the old machine in and then?
Oh, some of them, we have a buyout at the end. We could do that. Most of the time, they're turning them in for a new lease, and I'll share, basically, Francis and I have talked about it. We don't care much for leases, but some of the departments like doing business that way, so I don't argue.
Any other questions or comments? I'm going to follow up and say something after we take care of the agenda item here. If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve the agreement addendum with CTWP.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Real quickly, something that our purchasing director is not crazy about these leases. Auditor's not crazy about the leases. Why can't the court make a policy, and Dustin, this is probably geared at you, that would prevent us from entering into these leases on these things and just purchase them?
I think we could, the court controls the budget, so, and that would be the method of how we enter into these. So I think that's something we can look at. Maybe, Commissioner, maybe that's something we can talk about at the retreat.
Okay.
Looking at something like that.
Fantastic. Let's put that.
Comment?
Yes, sir.
I know sometimes lease agreements have built-in maintenance agreements with them.
This is
But if
true.
you buy them outright, then you have to purchase a separate maintenance agreement. So I think this is something we need to look at also.
Yes, you do. That's correct.
As they've been brought up, we usually have both options that we've brought to you and recommended, but sometimes the lease
But you
method is
find
the
a
way that's
vendor,
chosen.
though, that would be willing to make a maintenance package very affordable if they got the best product.
The maintenance agreements are literally based on your estimated amount of usage. And literally, when you are paying for a maintenance agreement, for the most part, you're not paying, if you just had a maintenance agreement without an amount, you will pay basically penny amount for each page that you print. So when we go into a maintenance agreement for 10,000 or we go in for 20,000, generally you're paying per page about the same amount that you're doing. So I've always told people when they see that they're paying for overages, if we go in and change it to an amount to cover the overages, you're literally going to pay more than probably if you just paid for that overage for that copier
Separate, yeah.
in the maintenance agreement. There's a whole big thing on copiers and printing and stuff.
Dustin, that's a great idea. If you would, please put that on the agenda for the retreat.
Will do.
All right.
All right, moving on to H20 regarding the second professional consulting contract with LAN, authorization of addendum. If we can defer this today, something else we need to work on with it and bring it back.
Okay. I make a motion to defer.
Second.
Have a motion to second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Moving down to item J, capital improvement and construction projects. J1 regarding capital improvement project for the Cameron Park Zoo, agreement with City of Waco, authorization of invoice for the Education Center, Vet Hospital, Hoofstock Barn, and Penguin Exhibit. Francis?
Yes, so this is reimbursement request from the city. It's been reviewed. We recommend it for payment. It's in a total of $1,349,292.24. And just to remind you, of course, that's coming all from zoo bond proceeds. And then just to kind of give you a quick update, because I know this always comes up when we discuss this. To date, we have reimbursed the city a little over $7.5 million for the projects, with over $6 million still pending. Still waiting to receive those reimbursement requests as the projects move forward.
What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve the request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
J2 is regarding sliding door control mechanism replacement for Highway 6 jail, RFP 23-001, authorization to pay application. TJ?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So this is a pay app from Cornerstone Detention. This is for the slider units that we're replacing in segregation out of the jail. So we've reviewed this. Everything looks to be in order, and we recommend for approval.
Questions or comments? Now, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
J3 is regarding the Trading Post Road Creek crossing improvements, construction agreement with Meckel Contracting, authorization of invoice, application for payment number 2. Zane?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Zane.
application number 2 for payment for the Trading Post Road Low Water Creek Crossing in Precinct 2. It's been reviewed and is recommended for approval.
Questions or comments?
Will this be all of the payment to them with the exception of the retainage?
They currently have, the retainage is roughly $26,000. That's 5% of the total contract. The remaining left to be paid out, including the retainage, is roughly $43,000.
Okay.
So they have a little bit more work left to do. They're waiting on the signage that flashes when the creek rises, says something to the fact of turn around, don't drown. And that takes a long time, lead time for the signage to come in. As soon as it comes in, they'll install it and finish site cleanup, and then we'll do a final walkthrough, and then we'll pay them the remainder of their contract amount.
Okay, it looks good. Those are the pictures that Dustin's putting up. It looks really good out there. They did a really good job.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion. Move to approve J3 and the recommendation of the county engineer.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
If I may.
One moment, please.
I called to check on or texted to find out. They had a small desktop copier, and so the copier they got at West Substation is a bigger copier that they hadn't really had before. So
okay,
it's really more than a replacement.
Thank you, sir. Dustin?
All right, J4 is regarding McLennan County Downtown Jail remodel for courtrooms and office space. Agreement with Brinkley Sergeant Wigington, authorization of invoice number 12. This invoice totals $98,890 and is mostly related to their schematic design services. It's been reviewed and is recommended for approval.
What's the pleasure of the court?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under item L, grant proposals. L1 is our ARPA discussion. I know last week or last court session, Commissioner Smith, you'd asked about those nonprofits. We've included those in the packet. The way I remember it is that these requests were timely submitted. We had a few that court ran through all these requests, moved a few down to a non-funding category, and these were the ones that were left pending. Don't need any action today. Just wanted to make the court aware of those as we continue to work through ARPA.
Okay, any questions?
No questions, but I would comment that I know in visiting with some of the people at Community Cancer Association, the COVID really hit them hard. They had to discontinue some programs, and all of the money they raise stays right here in Central Texas with cancer victims and families, and I know they would be appreciative of anything that the court could do for them now or down the line that would help replace some of that lost revenue, because they had to cut some programs that were in some of the areas of growth, the fastest growth areas in their services, and I know it hurt them considerably. So anything we could do would be appreciated.
You know, and I think, Commissioner, that's something that we could probably also discuss at the retreat is, you know, how much, we're looking around 600,000 that's left, I think, and we need to make sure we got our house taken care of, and then we start looking, but I do think it's warrants a discussion.
Yeah.
So, okay, and there's no
I
action.
know that, I was at the conference in Austin, and there's some counties that have actually taken away the nonprofit commitments because they found that their infrastructure needs were not being met by the infrastructure bills and things like that. So I mean, I think I think making sure that ours and the taxpayer needs are taken care of first is most important.
I don't think we've done a really good job of balancing that, of what was needed out there. I think we addressed some very, very important issues for our county. Very pleased with what we were able to do, particularly in the water area. So
yes, sir. So, Right.
And I did want to add as well that Zane had mentioned last court session that that may be all the culvert or low water crossing projects that we have at this time, but we reached back out to Forvis. There has been some more interim guidance issued in August that expands the definition on the infrastructure projects. So some bridge projects could be eligible.
Okay.
We're still working through that and actually have a call with Forvis this Thursday to talk about those. So.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, moving on to item L1A regarding the professional services agreement with Forvis, formerly BKD, authorization of amendment number 2 for grant administration services. As the court remembers, we started with the agreement with Forvis BKD. It was around a $49,000 agreement to begin with. We then amended it to add the separate monitoring and essentially treated it like a work order where we had another $100,000 to move through that phase. We knew at that time, and Forvis had communicated, and we shared with the court that that was not going to be enough to cover the subrecipient monitoring. So this is essentially another work order, and we're setting the amount this time at $150,000. We think this will help us get through most of this next year. Visited with Francis, Haley, and Mike on this, and just think it's a prudent approach to it, and so we don't have to keep coming back to court. But at the same time, we're monitoring everything that goes on with Forvis and staying in close contact. So our recommendation would be to approve this amendment. And Francis, I don't know if you wanted to add anything. We just anticipate the subrecipient monitoring is going to, it's about to really pick up, and it's going to just take a lot of time from Forvis.
And so this comes out of the 600,000 that we've been talking about that's left, so we're basically at half a million now. Okay. Questions or comments?
So then this motion would need to state not to exceed 150,000?
It's actually plugged into the amendment,
Okay,
Commissioner.
so it's already in there, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Pleasure of the court.
Move to approve the amendment with Forvis.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
L1B is authorization of legal services invoice of Haley and Olson for ARPA matters for September 2023, and this invoice totals $260 and is recommended for approval.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
L2 is the bipartisan infrastructure law discussion. I know we've already talked about this, and we'll all get together and look for another grant administration firm.
Okay.
So moving down to L3s regarding the Texas Indigent Defense Commission FY24 formula grant, authorization of submission of grant application and related resolution. This is the annual grant we apply for, and then the funds we receive back are based on the formula set out by the Indigent Defense Commission. I believe FY22 we received right at 177,000. I think last year was about 184,000. So we just need a motion to approve this application and resolution.
What's the pleasure of the court?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
L4 is regarding the Office of the Governor, Criminal Justice Division, Specialty Courts Grant Program, acceptance of grant award for mental health court. Back in February, we approved the submission of this grant application. We've received notice that it's been funded, totaling $193,647, $647.30. You just need a motion to approve that grant award.
Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
With motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under item M, Department Office Specific Requests, M1 is Specialty Court, authorization of order accepting donations. Francis?
Yes, so this was just one additional donation for the prior month for specialty court, specifically for Veterans Treatment Court.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under item N, N1 is discussion and action regarding appointments to McLennan County Park Plan Committee. This is for the our master plan update. I know Judge had mentioned Rick Tullis and Pete Rowe, and Commissioner Jones, you had mentioned Rick Wegworth as well. I think ideally we would like to have 4 or 5 on this committee, so don't know if anybody else has any names, but Mundo would like to start scheduling these meetings for the beginning at the end of October.
I have a name. I met with the city of Belle Meade and spoke to the city manager. and they're having some planning, they're in the planning stages of having some park areas developed over there. I'd like to add Yo Zachary. I didn't know how to formally do that, you know, to get his contact information to you all, but I would like to put his name forward.
And has Rick responded? Do we know if he's in or out?
Rick Wegworth?
Yes.
Yes, he's all for it.
He's in, okay.
Okay. And Yos has affirmed too, he's confirmed.
Dustin, how do we need to approach this? Just, do we need a list of names, and once we get enough, then we approve the list that's presented?
I think so, and I think for purposes of getting the meeting scheduled, maybe we can go ahead and move forward with these forward. I know Commissioner Smith was thinking through some names as well.
We have one, and he's accepted.
Okay.
He served previously on the Trading House Lake Advisory Committee, and that was Tim Holtkamp,
Okay, yeah.
spelled Holtkamp.
Okay, so Dustin,
Great.
help me here.
That
Would we like to
that
go ahead
gets
and
us-
call the names out today and go ahead and vote them in?
Yes, sir. That would be great.
So the names that we have currently are Pete Rowe, Rick Tullis, Rick Wegworth, Yo Zachary, and Tim Holtkamp.
Holtkamp.
Is that correct?
That is it. Yes.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to appoint these gentlemen to the board?
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
How many names are we
All
trying
right.
to?
I think it was 5, correct?
Five names.
That
Yeah.
5. Yes.
And they were wanting
We're done, huh?
October, they wanting a meeting like next week.
I think it's October 26th is what they were trying to schedule. So
Yeah.
I'll get these names to and contact info on to Mundo.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Appreciate the court
All right,
coming and getting those names presented today. That'll work.
Yes. All right, moving on to item N2, discussion and or action regarding the courthouse Christmas lighting ceremony. N2A is approval of order for acceptance of monetary donations. TJ, I don't know if you had any update, or Francis, if you wanted to cover this portion.
Either. I can.
Go ahead,
So-
Francis.
Okay, so under 2A, this is just the acceptance of the donations since the last agenda. So you'll see there the list. They total $13,250. They're being held accounting-wise separately on our GL, so they do not get intermingled with any other county funds, and are used specifically for the purpose that they were donated for.
Excellent.
Was there a goal that was set for fundraising on this?
I don't really think specifically a set goal. No, so,
Okay.
no.
I was just curious if we needed to go out and still be pounding the doors trying to get some additional funds, so.
Well, I'll be sad when they reach their goals because they are serving more food than I've seen us serve. I think next week, we got breakfast tacos coming? Yeah,
Commissioner, yeah, that's tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we may not want to see this project.
We need to raise funds for weight loss now is what I'm hearing.
I'm excited.
And again, thanks to everyone that's participating in putting these fundraisers on. TJ, I know y'all have done quite a bit, so we appreciate that.
And since y'all are in court with us today, Suzanne and Tracy, we thank y'all. Yes.
And our waistlines as well. All right, we need a motion to approve N2A.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
N2B is authorization ratification of purchases for courthouse Christmas event, and those are listed in your packet. I don't know if Francis has anything else to add.
No, we just, as expenses occur, we want to bring those to you, just as we would any other expenses, so it's very clear what the money is being spent on. So this to date is what has been spent.
Okay. Pleasure of the court.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, moving down to item N4, approval of order granting exemption from competitive bidding and awarding contract to Sedaptic Incorporated for security-related items at county facilities, including Jack Harwell Detention Center, Highway 6 Jail, and Juvenile Detention Center. Ken?
Last year, I was bringing forward some pretty specific orders for replacement of security items at jail, Jack Harwell, Juvenile. But in keeping, I will say we already have some some cost issues come up with Sadaptic already in the first part of this new budget. I thought it might be a good way to approach this and trying to keep everything kind of standardized, that I come to the court with a court order exempting Sadaptic from competitive bidding for some of our security-related items at the jail, Jack Harwell and juvenile. Again, keeping in consistency, keeping a security type company that stays in business. We've had all kinds of issues over the years, and Sadaptic has been a constant. So with that, I'll turn it over to the court if you'll agree to this.
Well, I truly think these guys are a hidden gem in our community. When you have the response time's pretty good.
Yeah.
Drive across town, so I agree with you. I think it's a wonderful deal. What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve the order, the exemption order.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
N5 is authorization of revised Commissioners Court agenda format. This goes to address the concerns I think Commissioner Jones had before about budget amendments being presented and approved sometimes before the quote or contract. So what it does is it moves the budget category down lower in the agenda where we can consider those contracts or agreements ahead of time. It also removes travel from under the consent agenda. It's just rarely used, and if we need it back, we'll just add it on a case-by-case basis. So if y'all are okay with it, we just need a motion to approve that revised agenda format.
It'll help make sense.
I think it does.
Things. Yes. Pleasure of the court.
Motion to approve the order, yeah.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
N6 is authorization of minute order approving work as historic cemetery by precinct 2. Commissioner Miller?
Yes, and again, this is something that's come before the court before. What I want to do with this minute order that Mike has put together is that this is a cemetery out in the county, over in the area by the city of Mart. They do have a marker that is older than 50 years. Some of them are way older than 50 years, but they do from time to time need the assistance of the county for their maintenance. Instead of coming to the county coming to the court every time we have the time to go over there and help them, I want to go ahead and just send this order through court to authorize us the ability to go in there and help them as they need it, and as we have time and the labor.
Sure.
So if there are no questions or concerns, I would move to approve the authorization of minute order approving work at Historic Cemetery by Precinct 2.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say 50 years is really not that old.
It's not, they have
Just I
some in
just
the
wanted to throw that out. I
1800s.
just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, no, they have some from the 1800s. They have some, I think they have one that fought in the Civil War.
But it's a long time to
Think
be,
that old.
it's a long time to be expired though. So that,
It is. It is.
any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Furniture in her courtroom to the court. These are all items that she personally purchased. To us, it makes sense. These are quality items. She had shared her invoices with us before. Looking to get around $2,000 for the furniture, from what I understand. And so it's something that can remain in that courtroom and serve the next judge in that area, and also prevents us from having to, buy new office furniture, which would obviously exceed that $2,000 amount.
Questions or comments? What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
N8 is discussion and or action regarding centralized registration authority per Senate Bill 1518. This is related to the establishment of a terrorist offender registry, and it allows the court to designate a centralized registration authority. And Sheriff's Office is happy to serve in that role. And David or Chief Deputy Captain Nixon, anything y'all would like to add?
Sure, we have been in communication with the state's anti-terrorism unit, and DPS is going to roll out this system as part of the SOR, the Sex Offender Registry. It's going to mimic that system, and it's going to come online later this year and come into fruition in January. So we don't foresee this being a huge burden on the sheriff's office with the number of sex offenders that we already register and the similarities of the process between the two forms of registry.
Okay, questions or comments? It's a shame we're having to do this,
Yep.
but that's where we're at.
Yep.
Okay, I need a motion to approve N8.
Per Senate Bill 1518, my motion would be to approve the McLennan County Sheriff's Office as our designee for the centralized registration authority.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
N9 is authorization of refund requests for overpayment of real estate taxes under the Texas Property Code. The tax office had submitted the following refund requests. Those are listed in your packet. And just as a reminder, any payment in any of these in excess of $2,500 must be approved by the Commissioner's Court.
It's a pleasure of the court.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under item N10 regarding the Information Technology Policy and Procedures Handbook, authorization of policy additions. N10A is Prohibited Technologies Policy, and N10B is Bring Your Own Device Policy. John?
Hello again. So these two policies are mandated by the government. Greg Abbott, Governor Abbott, on December 7th, 2022, had an executive order that required all state agencies to ban the video sharing application TikTok. This eventually became Texas Code 620.003 by Senate Bill 1893 that was passed on June 14th, 2023. It requires all local government agencies in Texas to adopt some sort of prohibited technology security policy. Now, this has been expanded beyond TikTok, although that's what it's famous. Everybody's famous for, the policy is famous for blocking TikTok. But it also has a full list, as you see in the item there, of all these different technologies that are blocked. They're not only applications like TikTok and WeChat and that sort of thing, but it's also some hardware like Hawaii Technologies Company and ZTE Corporation. So they're required, all entities are required to adopt this policy. So we've taken the state policy from the DIR, the Department of Information Resources, and we've just customized it to match what McLennan County needs. And that's what this first policy is. The second policy, the BYOD, or Bring Your Own Device policy, that is referred to in the first policy, so it's a companion policy to that. And what that does is set the policy for anyone who brings their personal devices to work. And we're not in any way contravening the existing policy where it says that you cannot use your personal device for official county business. This merely lets people bring the device to work and connect to our guest wireless if they would like to. But also, again, it enforces the whole prohibited technology, so they can't bring a Hawaii device and connect. They can't use TikTok while they're connected to our network, that sort of thing. They both have been reviewed. They've also been reviewed by Dustin and the attorney, and are recommended for approval to add to the IT policies, existing IT policies.
Questions or comments?
I just want to make sure this doesn't prevent me from using DoorDash to get food to my office. Is that right?
Well, not today.
Okay, all right, all right.
We'll
Thank
see
you,
it
sir.
later down the road.
You just can't post those dances you do when you get it delivered.
Commissioner, one thing that we may want to exclude, I guess, would be used by the sheriff's office of, technologies that further their investigative abilities, if that is okay.
Yes.
Excuse me, Dustin, you are correct. We do have, as part of this policy, we will be rolling out, so I forgot to mention that, thank you. We will be rolling out an exception request form, so that if they have legitimate reasons for using any of these applications, and this primarily does relate to the sheriff's office, then they can fill out an exception and still use those for those purposes.
But that's written into the policy, so we wouldn't need to make that as a point of reference in the motion, correct?
Correct. It's in the prohibited technologies policy.
Okay. Dustin, is that good enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve N10A, prohibited technologies policy, and N10B, bring your own device policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Moving down to item N12, discussion and or action regarding Lacey Lakeview's tornado siren restoration and placement. Commissioner Jones?
We need to defer this. I think there was an error somewhere. That's what I have in the notes and saw yesterday that I don't think this is quite ready to go yet.
Okay. Then motion to defer.
Motion to defer.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, moving down to item P, McLennan County Venue Project. P1 is authorization of invoice from Waco Paving Incorporated for dust control on Paul Tyson lot. This is the area of the old Paul Tyson Stadium where gravel work was done. They needed dust control prior to the fair, and so the fair was able to get this work contracted for. And so this would actually be, I believe, a reimbursement from the venue fund to cover this cost.
Any questions or comments? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I believe that is all the action items.
Mercedes, are we good? All right. Sure appreciate everyone today. And with that being said, if there's anything else to come before the court, if not, we're adjourned.